Thank you, Lord, for all you've done for me. Hey, Mary. All right. Shout out to Mary Mary. I'm jamming with them today, okay? Today I wanted to talk about the autism issue that we are going through in this world. I'm calling it an issue, but it's actually a gift. I should say that I'm speaking of the autistic gift that we have all been blessed with, okay? When parents sometimes are faced with a child, every child has their own challenges, be it health, be it maybe the parents don't understand the child yet. Everyone goes through their own transition. We go through transitions even with our shoes, right? You might buy a pair of shoes and they feel good in the store. You get home and they don't feel good, I wanted to make sure that I let it be clear that autistic children are a gift. I should have just started off with that one statement, right? Autistic children are gifts to those families. Now, people don't always see it as that. A woman has a baby shower, and everyone's all excited. Can't wait to see what he's going to look like. Can't wait to see what he's going to be like, what his personality is. And then she has this baby, and the child is autistic, and they don't know how to work with this child. Now, it's not knowing how to work with the child, because every child is different, period. But while working with these children, the basic thing that you have to be is observant. Sometimes when you're just listening and observing, you learn so much more about anyone. Be it autistic, be it average, be it what is average, right? Anyone. When you are observing, you learn more from the person than just assuming. And sometimes when children are, or should I say, adults, parents are faced with the doctor speaking to them and saying that their child is autistic, that parent gets very nervous and afraid, and they don't know how they're going to interact or implement certain things with the child. Now, from working with autistic children, gifted and talented, to me, autistic children are gifted and talented too. I worked with a boy who was silent, who did not communicate with words, but his actions communicated far more than his words would have even been able to say. Because children at different ages, they don't know how to communicate. It is us who shows them. It is us who they observe, and they look at what our actions are, and then they react to that, and they learn from us. But the same way that we are learning from them, they could be learning from us. There's a family in the media that, the family is breaking up. And I'll say with every portion of the breakdown could have been predicted. But if they had received the help, if that family had sat down and spoken to a therapist who is well developed in this area, I should say. Not every therapist would have been able to help them. But the children are now becoming adults, and it's hard for the parents to connect to them because they weren't able to connect with them from the beginning when it all started. I speak of therapy a great deal, and myself personally, I have done a lot of reading, and I've done a lot of experimenting with those readings, in order to be able to implement certain things. And of course, I did have my psychology classes in college, but it's nothing like hands-on to be able to make the connection to what you've read, to be able to see how it can be implemented, to see how these connections can come together. It's like a hand in a hand. When they come together, it is a completion of sort. That's what I'm trying to break it down to. Now, just stay with me. I'm going somewhere with this. So, with the children, I remember one child specifically. Very, very smart. I worked with him, and I noticed that the teachers, we used to work in our own groups, one-on-one with the different students. And there was a specific teacher who really did not like the student that I worked with. So she did a lot of planning and playing of games to get us to be removed from that classroom. Now, the thing is that if ever I were absent and she had to deal with this child, that was one of her biggest fears. But instead of her communicating, what she did was she did different strategies. We'll call it politics or politicking, as my cousin would say. When we have a breakdown and people are not able to understand or work with different children, sometimes this is what they will do. The problem is that God placed this situation in our hands to be able to work through it so that these children as well as these adults would learn. But this person did not want to learn that way. They decided to fight against the grain. And what ends up happening is they might look like they did something, or they might feel as though they accomplished something. But at the end of the day, God will then place another example, another challenge to that person. So you didn't get over in doing that. What you ended up doing is you ended up having to repeat the same class all over again. It's like getting left back. You get left back, you got to start all over and do the same thing over and over again. Nobody likes that. But in some cases, people will be challenged with these very things in everyday life because they decide that they want to take a cheat sheet to the example of what God was trying to teach. So these children, I'm going to say it again, being faced with having to interact with any child can be a challenge. But when you have an autistic child, you have a cheat sheet. And I'm going to say this specifically because some people do not know. They don't realize it. Having an autistic child is in your environment is actually a cheat sheet, because that child, when they react, when they do certain things, it's usually because they are empathic and they've picked up on something. You know, there was a woman in the post office and her child started misbehaving, and she couldn't get it. She couldn't understand it. She was so busy trying to get her information to, you know, for her business. And it's understandable. I mean, frustration happens on all levels. She was frustrated with her son because she was trying to get her packages mailed off, and he was, you know, creating a scene in the post office. Here's the thing. The child was misbehaving because the child picked up on the frequency of a person behind them. The guy who was behind them was not a gentleman. He was a predator. And the child picked up on it instantly. But she didn't get it. She was upset and she was trying to get her things off. It took a while because finally when she got her stuff shipped off, and she actually pulled her son close to her and decided to nurture him, that's when she was able to realize that he doesn't act this way around everyone. He only behaves this way around certain individuals. And that person was not supposed to be near children. He wasn't supposed to be in that neighborhood, because that neighborhood, there's certain areas where, you know, it's posted that you have certain predators in certain neighborhoods or what have you. And he's not supposed to be anywhere near children within a certain feet. But here's the thing. When you don't know, you don't know. Children are gifts, period. They are a chance for us to interact and learn. We learn from each other. That is why we're here too. So children, having a child who has insight in certain ways and on a different level also teaches you. So sometimes when parents get frustrated or whatever, and they really don't know how to interact with their children, because this is not something that they read in a book. This is not something that they're able to understand. This is when you have to get grounded. This is when you have to go to a park or go in nature, hold that child's hand, walk through the park and just sit in the grass. Sit quietly. The child already knows that he or she should be observing. That's what they're doing regularly. They are here to teach you how to do it, how to calm down, how to assert yourself in a more peaceful manner. You know, I'm gonna say it again. With working with autism, with children with autism, you get to see on so many different levels some things that you are not doing correctly, some things that you don't quite understand why you're reacting in a certain way. They teach you patience. This is true. You know, I also worked with a woman. Now, I worked at home with a family who had an autistic child. And the child honed in on the mother in every way. Like, if she was in a bad mood, the child was in a bad mood, and the child reacted. The child just wanted to be near the mother, but the mother didn't see it. She didn't see it because she was so caught up. She was also a teacher. And in being a teacher and being coming home and having to deal with the stresses of grading papers and doing so much, and then dealing with her 2 children when she got home, it was challenging, you know. Especially if you're a single mom, it's a challenge because you have so many things, so many deadlines, and so many things that you have to accomplish per day. You know, getting food on the table, making sure that they have everything for school, making sure that you don't forget certain things. It's almost like you need a personal assistant for this job, because parenting is a job. It's a very fruitful job. But here's the thing. Every child comes with their own handbook. And with that handbook, you have to create it. You have to create it because you have to observe each child, and you have to implement what you feel needs to be done. And that's not even to even react on laundry, food shopping, cooking, making sure that your child and you maintain a healthy diet. You know, there's such a balancing act that every parent has to follow through on. But having a child with special needs means you have to implement even more time for that. So here's what I think. I think on top of all of that, you need to implement a meditative schedule. I know some people might say, are you out of your mind? I barely got 5 minutes for this. I'm telling you, it will pay off in the end. Get a meditation schedule. When you come home from work, wash your hands, eat a snack. I think it's better on an emptier stomach, but whatever it takes. Set the timer for 10 minutes, even 5 minutes. Start with 5 minutes, but try to do it every day. Let's say you decide it's going to be 6 o'clock every day. You put on the slow cooker or whatever in the kitchen. Sit the child down. Sit down, crisscross applesauce, Indian style. Sit with the child and meditate. Set the timer. Meditate for 5 good minutes. Your body is going to request that you do it for even more once you get into the habit. That child already knows it. I'm telling you, that child is going to connect with it faster than probably you. But let's just test it out. I'm telling you that meditation will be that one thing that you can go to that will ground both you and the child, and it'll also bond you as well. I know a woman who has how many children? I think she has 3 children now. I think it's 3. And she has had quite a challenge with her children, especially because with one of them being autistic, one of the things too is when you have a special needs child and you have what quote unquote people might call average children, you work out a schedule where you are doing things together, at least one activity a week. Start with one activity. That one activity could be playing cards, but I strongly say that one activity should begin with meditation or even visualizations. I'm gonna tell you, visualizations saved me on so many different occasions. When I was teaching, I did meditation and visualizations. I'll be honest, I did. Now, this might be something that might not be something that a lot of schools would even look at. But I'm telling you, when my kids were down, sometimes when their minds were all over the place, visualization saved me, okay? I sat them down and we meditated and did visualizations. Because when you do a visualization, you can reverse their behavior. You can reverse their thinking pattern, because right now they're thinking about a fight that they had in the schoolyard and how they want to get back at that person. Well, here's the thing. When you do a visualization, you are asking that they close their eyes and they visualize something good. And you visualize them in a different environment, time and space. Those children's minds are now refocused, and now they are in a better mood. With them being in a better mood, now you can meditate. Once you finish with that, now we can get back to doing our work. Work is worship, okay? And when you are working with another person, you are worshiping the experience, okay? Meaning, God sent us here to interact and work with each other. You are now working peacefully with another individual. I had one student who I worked with in a summer program. And this child needed to be potty trained. I'm going to tell you. And potty training a boy, now it was easier for a girl because I thought I was, since I am a female, I thought it was easier. But this boy, I had to get this magnet, and I put the magnet in the toilet. Now I'm sure everyone else who went to the bathroom could not understand why this thing was there. And I had to also speak to the janitor not to remove this circle that was in the toilet. Because if the janitor removes it, now I gotta go buy another one of these magnets to go in the toilet. But this is the reason why this works so well, is because children like to see something visually. And it was a target, and it was a contest. And with this contest, this little boy liked being able to see something that he could actually accomplish, Now, I'm not going to be in there watching him, so I had to be on the side of him while he's doing his thing. My main thing is that when you do that and you put, I did do a little coloring in the water as well to see exactly if he was making the target. It's kind of, I'm not even going to explain it. Basically, just the color and the pack of Kool-Aid and that magnet in the toilet. And that kid, when I say that child turned it around really quickly, when I say that he was potty trained in minutes, not in minutes, but I think 2 days tops. It's important, and every child learns differently. The other child I did the same thing with, he didn't learn as quickly. So it's important that it's important whenever we are working with children that we put ourselves in a child's place, meaning be able to relate to the child at that age. If you don't remember what you were at that age, this makes it easier for you because this child is behaving in a certain way. It's time to really sit and think about it in order to be able to relate to this child, okay? So when I say autistic children are teachers within themselves, let me tell you something. Every autistic child that I've worked with and I've learned so much from, it makes me believe, and I'm just going to put this out there, that every police station needs to have an autistic adult working in that environment. And I know, a lot of people are going to have their own say on this, but let me tell you something. They are like investigators on a whole different level. And if you don't see it, I want you to sit down and really think about that. They are strategic on their own level. They think differently. And that's another reason. There's a show that used to come on with this guy who was a detective. And he'd come and find out different things, and people would be like, how the heck did he figure that out? He had some autistic elements to him. I'm telling you. I only know this because I've worked with autistic children, teenagers, as well as little children. And I even taught special needs kindergarten. And I'm going to tell you, it was harder working with the adults than the children because the adults wanted control the whole time. These children just wanted to be. Half the time they wanted to be left alone or sitting right here under my chair. They would sit with me all the time, and when the assistant would have to go on a break, the child would choose to sit next to me as opposed to sitting at a desk. It is important that we really look at how we're doing things. Some things take patience, and this is one of them. When you are working with any child, sitting quietly and observing would be your best strategy to begin with, okay? So I don't know why God chose this day to give me this message to share with you guys, but it's important that we are looking at every child as being unique. And in thinking and in knowing that each child is unique, and you are uniquely working with them as themselves. Learn to love each child individually as who they are, not fighting against the grain, but knowing that this child is a gift. And with each child, with each gift, we are to appreciate the moments because they don't last long. The same child who is autistic today could still go to college. Don't think that child's going to be under you all the time, because once they gain what they came to gain with you, they are moving along. There are people who think their children are going to be with them forever. They find the right program to put that child in, that child is not going to be with you forever. And when I say that child is not going to be with you forever, I'm talking that child can get their own apartment. That child one day can go to college. That child one day can be married. That child one day can be a great success. Do not limit the child based upon your limitation on what you think of that child. Everyone has an opportunity. Let that child win with their opportunity. All right, guys. This is Indigo Moon. This has been a long one, I know, but you have a great day, and thank you so much for joining me. Again, I am not on any other platforms but YouTube and my podcast. That's it. So enjoy, and you have a great day.